independence, the United States has held high the aspiration that one day all people will experience the freedoms that Americans enjoy. And around the globe, we promote these core principles through consistent engagement with our partners and allies, including the Gambia. Today is also a celebration of jazz, a uniquely American style of music that often includes improvised solos. Since its birth in New Orleans, Louisiana in the early 1900s, jazz has played a transformative role in America's movements for social justice and equality. According to the official guide to New Orleans was the only place in the New World where slaves were allowed to own drums. It was in New Orleans that the bright flash of European horns ran into the dark rumble of African drums, and it was like lightning meeting thunder. The local musicians took that sound and put it together with the music they heard in churches and bar rooms and created a new music, a wild, jubilant music that made people feel free, that made people feel alive, that made people get up and dance. Novelist Ralph Ellison called jazz an artistic counterpart to the American political system. In jazz, the soloist can play anything he wants as long as he stays on the beat. Just as in democracy, the individual can say or do anything he wants as long as he obeys the law. It's all about keeping the beat. In case you're having trouble making the connection between jazz and politics, let me give you an example of how jazz was used to advance civil rights in the United States. Norman Granz recognized the value of jazz as a tool for social change. Through his Jazz at the Philharmonic concert series, during a time of pervasive racism in the United States, Granz organized concerts where black and white musicians played together, which at the time in the 1940s was groundbreaking. Several times he refused to have his musicians play before segregated audiences, which helped open the concert halls to diverse audiences for the first time. He struck the right chord, and the beat of freedom went on. Tonight, I want to talk about what my government is doing and what you can do to keep the Gambia on the right beat. I hear the beat of justice in the Gambia. I hear the beat of peace and tolerance, the beat of respect for human rights, the beat of transparency and accountability in governance, the beat of prosperity for all. Most of all, I hear the beat of freedom in the Gambia, and I hope that you can hear it and feel it too. Ladies and gentlemen, my government is committed to keeping all those beats going by supporting social and economic development in the Gambia. From colleagues working in many of our government agencies back home in the United States to my excellent staff here at the U.S. Embassy in Banjul, I can assure you that many people are doing all they can to support progress in the Gambia. When we gathered here last year, I mentioned just a few of the new projects and activities that were made possible by our renewed friendship with the Gambia. Today, I'm happy to report that the United States is partnering with the Barrow administration in even more ways. The U.S. Embassy engagement in the Gambia is multifaceted. First and foremost, we have worked for many years to build democratic institutions, support good governance, and advance human rights. It is clear that the Gambia has made impressive gains in these areas over the past year. My government will continue to work with both government agencies and civil society organizations in support of even more progress. Let me cite just a few examples of the democracy and governance programs the United States has supported over the past year. We funded workshops for members of the Gambian National Assembly to help them build the skills to play their full and proper role in promoting good governance, accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. We are helping build the government's capacity to investigate and prosecute the financial crimes of the previous regime. We have also supported accountability in another way. As you may be aware, last December, the United States Treasury Department imposed sanctions on former President Yahya Jammeh by freezing his assets in the United States. And in May of this year, the Treasury Department also imposed sanctions on a key Jammeh ally. Our hope is that these steps will help put an end to impunity. And not least, looking forward, we will soon be launching a $1 million transitional justice program that will support civil society organizations who are bolstering the work of the Truth, Reconciliation, and Reparations Commission. My government has also given priority to a project that will advance health in the Gambia. Very happy to have the new Minister of Health here this evening, Dr. Aissatou Touré. Our Agency for International Development, USAID, is carrying out a comprehensive health sector assessment with the Ministry of Health. This will help the government evaluate the entire healthcare sector and provide guidance on how to improve the delivery of health services to all Gambian citizens. In addition, the United States government is strongly engaged in working to promote economic growth and development in the Gambia. USAID, for example, is providing technical assistance on debt management at the Ministry of Finance. Our Department of Treasury is helping the Gambian Revenue Authority strengthen its important role in building the new Gambia, and will soon start a project to help the Budget Office in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs with budget formulation. In addition, the United States Department of Agriculture will soon inaugurate a project to support cashew farmers in the Gambia, as well as in Senegal and Guinea-Bissau, by constructing feeder roads to help farmers get their goods to market, and by building processing capacity so that farmers can enjoy more value for their labor. I'm especially pleased that the Gambia's eligibility for the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, was restored this past year. This means that Gambian goods can be exported duty-free to the United States. We expect that this will be a boon to private sector growth here, and that we will soon see significant growth in bilateral trade. It was the Gambia's progress in the areas of human rights, rule of law, and good governance that made it possible for AGOA privileges to be restored. And Gambia's ongoing commitment to these principles will ensure that AGOA privileges will continue. There's one more U.S. government program that I'm especially excited about. Last December, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, or MCC, Board of Directors selected the Gambia for a threshold program. The Gambia was the only country in the world that was selected last year for a threshold program. This is a huge achievement, and I think it deserves a round of applause. Threshold programs are MCC's smaller grant program focused on policy and institutional reform. This year, MCC is working with the Gambian government to identify what they call binding constraints to economic growth. In the near future, MCC will work with Gambian authorities to design a program to mitigate those constraints. Over the long term, we hope that MCC's engagement will extend into a larger scale compact, which would lead to a major investment in infrastructure development to promote economic growth. This broad range of partnership demonstrates just how much the relationship between the Gambia and the United States has improved since President Barrow took office. And we keep the beat of democracy going. I look forward to doing even more with the Gambian government and the Gambian people to improve the lives of all Gambian citizens. Distinguished guests, in addition to gaining this extensive support from the United States government, the Gambia has also made significant progress in its full range of international relations. Today, the Gambia is accepted back into the community of nations as a model emerging democratic nation. The country has rejoined the Commonwealth and reversed the decision by the former regime to exit the International Criminal Court. These are important and positive steps, and we applaud the Barrow administration for taking them. I'd like to take just a minute to acknowledge the tremendous efforts the European Union has been making to support and champion the Gambia's development trajectory on the international front. On behalf of the United States government, I want to thank the EU and other key partners for the landmark May Donor Conference in Brussels that secured the country $1.7 billion in pledges for the National Development Plan from 2018 to 2021. These pledges demonstrate the enormous goodwill that the international community has for the new Gambia. Please make good use of that goodwill and that money. Stay on the beat. If well managed, these pledges will certainly do much to help you overcome the many challenges you face, and sticking with the jazz theme, help you get your groove back to reach a place of greater economic prosperity, country unity, and lasting peace. The challenge for the Gambia is to ensure that this money, once in the government's coffers, is judiciously and efficiently utilized so that the 8 strategic priorities of the National Development Plan are actualized. I implore all Gambians to implement the appropriate checks and balances so that these resources impact the lives of all citizens. I urge Gambians to rally together and unite for the development of this small but great nation. Every citizen of the Gambia has a role to play in keeping the Gambia on the right beat. Individual citizens must vote and participate in the governments of their communities. The National Assembly must provide strong oversight of the executive branch and ensure that the government is transparent and accountable to the people. Civil society organizations must build citizens' capacity to participate in government and also demand accountability from the government. Educational institutions must prepare young people to fill the jobs that will become available as the economy improves and to lead the Gambia into a brighter future. The private sector must invest to create those jobs. Religious leaders must preach peace and tolerance. And finally, the media must responsibly keep the public informed of the truth and monitor how well the government is fulfilling its promises and meeting the needs of its citizens. The new Gambian government has already made many advances toward its commitment to democratic values. That said, significant challenges still lie ahead. To meet those challenges, national interests must supersede all other interests and considerations. When that is done, the Gambia is sure to keep a progressive beat for the good of all of its citizens. However, I must also hasten to challenge the Gambian people to exercise patience as democracy and development take time. The Gambia is still a work in progress, and it must be allowed to heal and build the necessary foundations. Even in my own country, after 242 years, we are still working to achieve our ideals. As you continue to celebrate our nation's founding with us and enjoy jazz, meet some of the famous jazz musicians, and explore jazz styles from various periods.